a little fade out. Welcome back. Two T's in a Pod. I'm Tony.
And I'm Tralana.
And we are coming back at you from Chi-Town. Boy, we had so much fun. I mean, I had a blast. I think you had a blast too.
What are we talking about?
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
On the After Dark podcast, where, we were having some beverages. And even though this is Coca-Cola and that's lemonade, that we were like, let's fucking do it again.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was a rough week for me, work-wise and stuff. And I was like, I remember last night, I was like, man, I could go for a cocktail right now. But then it was like, hey, let's do the After Dark. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So this was a well-deserved cocktail for both of us, I feel. So yeah. So even though this is a little too much, I think, this particular drink. So anyway, so we have I'm gonna kill the children. We have a couple of topics. I hope we get to all of them, but so generally I don't pick the topics generally. Even though today you set up all of this, I was in a very musical mode. We got home from taking the kids to we dropped them off at the arcade, really hoping somebody took them, kidnapped them. But alas, they came back. But we came back home, and I was in a little bit of a musical mood.
Yeah.
We were playing and singing and stuff, and it was really fun. And we were singing and before the podcast, and then it was like, are we gonna actually record this, or are we just gonna sit here and karaoke with ourselves? Which I would have done that too. But so the wife set everything up, which is usually my thing. So a little BTS stuff. The wife is the topic person. The wife usually comes up with a topic, or she's like, what we should talk about, or we'll be talking about something in the car, and I'll be like, hey, we should save that for the podcast because that's a really good topic. So I actually sprung this topic on Tralana before we recorded because I think it's fascinating, and it also affects things in my world, my work world, but I think it also is very important for people to see and recognize and look at the implications, and that is AI. And when I say AI, I just mean the current state of AI technology.
Mhm.
So what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about the artistic side. We're talking about the idea of people's intellectual property, but also your likeness, like you as a person and people in general, celebrities, everybody on the planet, and your voice. So there's a few things. First thing that I wanted to talk about was from the artistic standpoint. So I don't know the details, and I brought this up to you before the podcast.
Mhm.
There are a lot of websites and applications that you can download where you can give it a prompt, and you could be very granular in this prompt. You can say, I want, a resolution of, 1920 by 1080, ultra HD, realistic, in the art style of what?
You have sparkle on you.
Oh,
I don't know where that would have come from.
in the strippers, in the art style of Van. First of all, you're the last person that wore this hoodie. In the art style of Van, it was probably your nails that you had the last time before those. Art style of Van Gogh, and you could give these prompts, and in 30 seconds to a minute, you could have a completely AI generated original art that looks and and feels, you know, like the art from that artist. And is this conflict? Do we have a conflict here? You know, the idea of struggling artists has been around for a very long time. Most people who get into the business of art or music and things in the arts space, a lot of times they're not doing it for a paycheck. They're doing it because they're passionate and they love it. And is it okay for an artist to be second seat to an AI, to AI generated art? What separates the art from the artists? There was an art competition, and I don't know the specifics. I wish I did. I didn't do a lot of research before, but I remember seeing it where a portrait was submitted, and it won first place. And then the person behind it was like, "Oh, by the way, this is AI generated. I don't even know how to paint. Like, I don't even know how to draw or paint." And I think art of all of the things is so hard to to differentiate between a human and computer generated. So, do you think that art at this stage is dead?
Um, I mean, I don't know enough about the situation and the topic to really have like an informed opinion on the matter, but I think that yeah, I mean like a lot of times we're looking for perfection, so of course like the most realistic artwork would come from AI, and so that's, you know, an unfair advantage or however you want to word that for the AI over a human being. But I think that like the true beauty in art is those like tiny imperfections that exist. But like that, if you're entering a competition, then yeah, the AI is going to win every time because it's going to be more realistic or more perfect than anything that an actual human can create.
But do you think, let's take that competition for example, okay?
Okay.
Do you think an AI person who submits AI deserves to win?
No.
Okay. So why? Why don't you think because is it because this person slaved 200 hours on a portrait and this AI generated this in a few hours? Let's say the render time was a few hours, which is pretty high. But some people can take it to an extreme where it's like they'll render it and then they'll take that and re-render it. And so it is a process, but it's still somebody just sitting at a keyboard hitting enter, enter, enter. Is that it? Is it because this person slaved over this artwork stroke by stroke? They deserve to win it over the generated AI generated, or are we not looking at it on its merits of which is better, which is more a more beautiful representation of what the art's trying to portray?
Well, I think if anything, there should be like subcategories. So it should be, you know, like you use the word painting. So like I'm just going to go off of that. So like it should be painting like actual human based painting. And then there should be like a separate category for like all AI created painting because it's not that both things don't take creativity to do because obviously like everybody has a different eye so to speak because beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So you know, everybody's going to look at something and say, like, this is the best version of this and whatever. So I think that the person that, you know, is telling the AI what to do, they're creating their own version of what's beautiful in that painting and whatever, versus like the true to life human is doing their own version. So I think there can be different categories because both take some form of skill and creativity to make in their own ways, because like that, like, one might take an hours of, you know, rendering and re-rendering and whatever to get it the way that they want, but the artist who's sitting there painstakingly doing it for 200 hours or whatever, like, that should be a totally different
So
category.
then let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If you were a painter
Mhm.
and I was not,
Yeah.
and I gave you the prompt and I was like, paint me a high definition, ultra realistic portrait of myself, um, with an apple in my mouth and a fig leaf over my crotch. I don't know. And you painted it. Should I get credit for that? Because I'm the one that prompted it? Because that's what we're saying here. Is we're saying the person that prompts the AI is the brushstrokes. I'm just typing in words.
Well, yeah, but AI can't take credit in the true like it's not like they're gonna take their, trophy or blue ribbon or like whatever you get for these competitions as the number
Well, but
one
if you were
place.
if you were to have your own category of just AI,
Mhm.
how could you award that? Because it's who's the better prompter?
Yeah.
I don't know. That
Because it's
seems a
your
little weird.
eye. It comes down to your eye because, like, you're the one telling the AI what to do, and if you don't like the way that it comes out, you're gonna re-render till it comes out the way that you want it. So it ultimately comes down to your eye and, like, your use of that program.
What about okay, so that is prompt-based art generation.
Yeah.
But there's also I can upload 1,000 uh, Kirby. The guy who was an artist for comics.
Mhm,
If I uploaded 1,000 scans of superheroes and things in the style of Jack Kirby, and then I told the AI based on those scans, create me a superhero on this style who has the colors red and black, whatever. And I prompted it, and it spits me out a Jack Kirby inspired drawing.
mhm.
Right? Should I get credit for that, or should Jack Kirby get credit for that?
Well, I think
Can
in
I create a whole new comic book with that character, or would that be infringement on his artistic licensing? Like,
I think it would have to, um, kind of like th this kind of reminds me, like, on TikTok, how you can use someone else's sound. And so, like, you're
yeah,
using their sound, whatever that may mean, whether it's like their voice or like whatever. They put something together sound clip wise, and then you're creating a video to go with it. So in those instances, like you give or you should give the original creator credit and say, like where the sound came from and whatever. So
sure.
I think in this instance it would be the same thing where it would be
Mm.
you'd be like the author of said comic book, and then you would be giving inspirational credit to Kirby.
But the difference is that on TikTok or on any platform, you could trace back the originator of that sample. We're talking about me at my home computer uploading this. If someone says, "Wow, that looks a lot like Jack Kirby's artwork," I'd be like, "Oh, that's just a coincidence."
Right, but that's why I'm saying, like, you should
Right.
you should be giving that
But
inspired by credit.
most people aren't gonna do that. They're gonna pass it off as their own or make up some nonsense or whatever, but like, nobody's AI isn't forcing people to give that credit. That's the whole point. Did you know real
Yeah,
quick, and this is hilarious, and I wanna find it tonight. There is a Twitch channel
okay,
that is devoted 24/7 AI generated Seinfeld episodes.
okay.
So, you've got a Twitch channel. You're not doing any of your own content. I mean, you wrote the code and you have the program, and you're taking the idea of Seinfeld,
Mhm.
and then you're uploading it. Let's say you've taken 400 episodes of Seinfeld. I don't know how many episodes there were, but you take all the episodes, take all of it in script form, and you ingest it into this AI. Now this AI can write a script like a Seinfeld episode, and then you assign that to the characters who are like these crude, you know, geometric characters. But you've basically got new Seinfeld episodes. Should Larry David sue? Should Seinfeld sue? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, where is the line drawn between artistic freedom and people interpretation? Because these aren't real Seinfeld episodes. They've never aired before. So you're not infringing on anything except maybe the name, Seinfeld, but he doesn't have a copyright on the name, right? So what do you do in that situation? And that person's probably making a shit ton of money. They're not doing anything. They're sitting behind and letting their computer, output this video source. So it's tough to me,
Mhm.
um, artistically. I haven't seen anything with music. Music is very important to me. And if I found out that like I heard a melody or a song that an AI program, it would break my heart because uh, a lot of shit you hear on the radio now is the same. You know,
Mhm.
I can't even tell the difference between Dua Lipa and Ava Max anymore. It's all the same to me. Like all of these like regurgitated 80s beats has been popular for the past 5-10 years. Stranger Things kind of brought a lot of that Kate Bush song that was terrible 5-10 years ago, but never even reached the top 50, I don't think, but it was on Stranger Things, so it's like, oh yeah, this is fucking great. Anyways, but at least there's a human being putting notes to paper. Might not be the best shit you've ever heard, but at least it comes from a place of art and crafting something, a melody or crafting a hook. But can you imagine all these music producers are going to turn to like AI, like, okay, write me a song. Write me a song in the style of whatever.
Mhm.
And then someone's going to take that and put it on the radio. And you're going to be banging your head to and be like, "Oh, this is a good song." But is it? Is it a good song?
I mean, I don't think that it would make it that it's not a good song. It would just be it's taking the creativity away from actually creative people.
I agree. And think of the pressure that it would put on actual musical artists. You know what it reminds me of? This idea, because I'm
Mm.
not saying that AI is writing music, although it probably is. Autotune. Remember when Autotune came out?
Mhm.
T-Pain used Autotune as a funky little thing. Most music studios were using Autotune software, but they weren't over exaggerating it. They were just doing a little bit of pitch correction. T-Pain was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna crank this to 11," and he sounded like a goddamn robot. And it shed a light on Autotune. T-Pain, have you ever heard T-Pain sing without Autotune?
I don't think so.
He has a beautiful voice. It's a fantastic. He won the Masked Singer the one year.
Okay.
And he's got he doesn't need the autotune, but he will forever be known as the autotune guy. He'll never be able to get away from it, and it's unfortunate. But what that did was it like forced every artist after that autotune. Like autotune was so popular. Everybody sounded like a fucking robot. And
Mhm.
it put a lot of pressure on other artists who wouldn't normally have probably done that to be like, well, I guess we got to auto tune this because that's what's hot.
Right.
That I feel like that might happen. The first person that creates an AI generated song that the public knows about that reaches like the top 10, you're going to see everybody else hop on board. Be like, well, why am I paying, 10% and whatever to this music producer? I can just download this software and just give it a prompt and sing over it.
Yeah.
It's bananas. That's the art side.
Yeah.
I am more interested, even though I am interested in the music and the art, but we're now seeing, um, and I'm not, you know what? I'm not even going to go into deep fake because deep fake, while the deep fakes are very good, I think that, there's a couple instances of like de-aging technology that uses deep fake technology.
Mhm.
I think it's getting very good, but I can still spot a deep fake most of the time. I'm not worried about that yet, but it's coming. But I have recently found that now they're using AI to mimic voice, people's voices. And, we were talking earlier, and I'm like, is nothing sacred anymore? Someone could take my voice, they could take 50 episodes of this podcast
Mhm.
and cut out my voice and put it through an AI and then write whatever they want and have it talk in my voice. And most people, 99% of the people who are going to hear it, except for maybe you and a couple other people who know my voice when they hear it, would think it was me. I've heard it, and it is unreal.
Well, so, like, when we were talking about that, I'm very interested to see like, I would like to see it for myself kind of thing, and the only reason that I have a specific interest in it is because, like so I have friends that, are in the military or grew up as, like, military brats or whatever, and so one of the things that, like, they often pride themselves on is being able to, like, tell where someone is from based on the way that they talk and whatever, and, like, we've talked about some of the differences even, like, between, like, me and you and,
Regional
like
dialect,
yeah,
regional
and, like,
sayings
you
and
say
stuff.
pop, I say soda, like, whatever, like, there are things like that that distinguish us from one another. But, like, the one thing that I think is interesting is, like, my one friend was like, "It's very hard to tell where you're from," meaning me, because of the way that I talk, and so I do use a lot of accents and change my voice a lot, and I do a lot of, like, mimicking of, like, things that I hear, and I make up words all the time. So, for someone like me, like and I don't mean this, like, as any kind of, like, slight to you or whatever, but, like, for someone like you that, like, talks normally, like, I think it would be harder to know if it was you or if it was AI because, like, I don't know how to say it
I don't
without
know how
sounding
you
like an
mean
asshole, but,
talk normally.
because there's like, I don't know how to say this
I mean,
without
I don't
sounding like an
make
asshole,
make
so,
up
like
funny word. No, no,
yeah, so,
please
like,
sound like an asshole.
there's nothing special about the way that you talk other
Cool,
than the sound of your voice.
cool.
So, like but I don't mean that in a mean way,
So
I
you have
just
a
mean
special voice.
no, like,
I
not
have a not special voice.
oh my
I just
gosh.
have a run of the mill
So
white boy Midwestern voice, and yours is like just super special.
of course. So what I mean is that, like, you don't make up weird words and, like, you don't use
Yeah.
funny accents and you don't do the things that I
Listen, I can
do.
make funny accents. I choose not to.
Correct, but that's what I'm saying. So, like, if somebody took your voice and put it
Hey,
into
you
AI
almost
and
you better watch those fingers. You
spit
almost
it
poked me in
out,
the face.
you are so far away from me.
Okay, well, I obviously you're not that close, but you're like "Bah, bah, 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 bah."
Right, but I know where
Okay.
my hand
I
is.
don't want
I know where my hand is. Anyways, so
talk with your special voice, not with your hands.
I'm gonna do both because I can.
With your special hands and your special voice.
Yeah, spirit fingers. Anyways, so so no, I think that for most people that you could take their voice and do exactly what you're saying and you could put it into AI and it would be very hard to distinguish between the AI and them.
Next week, we're going to have a podcast
Oh my
sponsored by
gosh.
Morgan Freeman. I'm going to download, and if I have to pay for it, I will. And it's going to be Morgan Freeman going, two T's in a pod. Like, it's going to be like,
Sure.
and it's because that's what we're at. You could take these voices and you can make them say anything, especially celebrities, where there's thousands of hours metacrawled across the internet that these programs grasp onto and
Well,
can make.
and I forget what it's called, but there is a thing that you can do like that where Um, I mean, like, that'll affect celebrities specifically because there is I forget what it's called, but, like, it's something a gram or whatever, like but it ends in the word gram, but, like,
But that's different.
it's can I finish?
I no, I know. I'm gonna let you finish, but then I will tell you the difference between that and the AI generated stuff.
No, I know Anyways, what I was going to say is there are things that you can do like that. So, like, if it was your birthday and you loved whoever.
Cameo.
Right. Yeah, that.
But that's the actual person.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. So it'll hurt things like that because if I can just
I could
go.
deep fake Morgan Freeman's face
Right.
and use this AI generator and be like, I heard it's your birthday, Tralana.
Right. So, like.
That's my Morgan Freeman. Spot on, I know.
Sure.
How
It's
dare you when you
the best.
listen, I have a special voice.
You are very special in all the ways, including your voice. And people that see this should give him compliments about
I'm
his
gonna
special
I'm gonna
voice.
flip this table.
And
I don't want to revisit that because we already visited that
multiple times.
Yeah, I will keep doing it because I'm sick of it.
Tony
That's going to lead into the next part of what we're going to talk about.
Tony got special compliments at karaoke last week, and he's not telling you that, but he did.
That's different.
Is that different? Because somebody's saying.
First of all, we're going to get back to the AI. I'm going to tell you how it's different.
Wait.
You asked me how it's different, and I'm going to tell you how it's different.
But let me.
I will set the scene.
Let me elaborate my question more.
Okay.
How is someone personally coming up to you and personally saying that you have a very good voice different?
You mean a special voice?
Special voice. How is that different and actually not better than when people just generically compliment me on my nails or my tattoos or whatever it is?
I will tell you
because that is very special about you individually.
I will tell you the difference. Here's the difference. When we're out in public, we're just minding our own business, right? Please don't do that now. And we're minding our own business, right? And someone comes up and goes, I love your tattoos. Like, those are beautiful. You're just existing. You're just existing. You're not outwardly projecting anything onto anybody. We go to a karaoke place where 99% of the people fucking suck. Right? And I go up there and I sing.
Except for when we go in York. Because
actually, they do have a lot of good singers at that place.
Yeah.
It's because they came in with like a fucking troupe of Broadway singers to practice one night. That's fine. But normally you go to a karaoke bar, most of it's like, I threw your picture away, and it's garbage.
We have that guy from The Voice, too.
Oh, yeah, that guy from The Voice showed up, and he was really good. And I'm the first person to admit, like, wow, this person's really good. I don't go to karaoke for the adulation. I don't go and sing karaoke to be like, oh, everybody look at me, I'm so great. I go because I like to sing. I like to have a few drinks. I like to eat a big sandwich, and I love music and all parts of it. I love people who sing that suck. I love people that sing that are fantastic. That's what karaoke to me. And true karaoke is the people that go up there and fucking butcher Carrie Underwood. That's fine because I love that. That is karaoke. I don't want to go to karaoke and hear 30 people that sing in a Broadway troupe because then I would just go to Broadway. I want to hear people gather the strength to go up in front of a crowd. It takes a lot of strength and integrity and confidence to go up and sing in front of people. And I respect people that do it. But anyways, I don't do it for that. So when someone comes up to me and says, wow, you have a fantastic voice. I just want you to know you're really great. I appreciate those compliments, but I am up putting myself on a stage as an individual singing in front of 100 people. That's different. I don't expect the compliments, but I don't go, wow, that's weird. That person just came up and complimented me about my singing. Well, why is that weird? You went up there and sang.
Right, but there are the other however many people that go up and sing and suck and don't get those compliments. So it does pull you out of special. The same way that I have tattoos and you have tattoos and people don't say anything to you.
I do have tattoos. And two dudes have pointed out this and
people don't say much to you about your tattoos, but people say things to me about mine. So like it's not different. It's the same because we both have tattoos, but we both don't get the same rate of compliments. We both have fingernails, but we don't get the same rate of compliments over our fingernails.
I guarantee you Oh,
Like,
don't. I guarantee you, if I went to a nail salon and had my nails done like you, I wouldn't get one compliment.
I bet people would
I
compliment
bet you
that,
they
like,
wouldn't.
would say things
I
about it.
bet you they wouldn't. That girl at Portillo's today would not have complimented my nails. She probably would have been like, ugh. And she, as soon as, oh my God, those nails are so great. And it's like, they are great, but that's what I'm talking about. It's not like you're doing springboard moonsaults across the room. Well, wow, that's really impressive. That's,
I think your compliment is better than mine because
I,
my compliment isn't anything about me specifically. First of all, like we've had this conversation before. My tattoos, while my idea, the artists that put them on me, it's their artwork. It's not my personal
so,
artwork. And my nails, it's my nail tech.
so you mean to tell me that if you and I go out and we dress to the nines,
Mhm.
right? I'll wear a tuxedo jacket. And you could wear a dress and have your hair done, your nails.
Sure.
You think we're going to get equal amounts of compliments?
I have no idea.
We're not. I know you have no idea because you know it's not true. We wouldn't. You and I could dress up to the nines. I could wear a tuxedo, a bow tie. I could have my jewelry. I could have a $1,000 watch on my wrist. I could walk in with you and you could just be wearing a nice beautiful dress with some beautiful shoes and your hair done. I guarantee you you're going to get all the compliments and I will get zero. No one's going to come up to me like, wow, that's a really sharp jacket. Wow, that's a really nice watch. Wow, those are really nice shoes. But you guarantee you'll get the compliments. You'll get, oh wow, those are some really cool shoes. Wow, and you know that's true.
But
Yes,
those
you might
compliments
get the
mean
you
nothing.
might well, I know they don't, but you might get the compliments on the tattoos. I'll concede that. My tattoos are plain black lined. I got an old dragon from when I was 18. I got the Flash because I'm a big Flash fan. Full Metal Alchemist, Colonel Mustang, great. I know that these tattoos aren't going to get me the same compliments as your big, elaborate phoenix with the colors. I will concede that, but that's not my point. My point is that there's plenty of things to compliment me on, and there's plenty of things to compliment a lot of men out there on, but people don't compliment men. People
I think
compliment
that's
women because men are strong and stoic and they don't need the compliments. We don't need to feed the ego, right, everybody? We don't need to feed men's ego, but women are delicate, beautiful flowers, and we need to make sure that they know that they're, whatever, that their
I think
tattoos are
that's
beautiful
the
and
character of the people around you or in
right.
the
That's
area
that's a societal thing.
because I compliment men.
Oh, do you do? Tell me more about that.
What do you mean?
You compliment men.
Yeah, what about it?
Okay.
Like there's a guy who gets his nails done by my nail tech, which I didn't know at the time, but when I used to work at Rutter's, he would come into Rutter's and he had his nails done and they looked really good and I was like, "Hey, I like your nails." And then we ended up talking about it and I found out that he has the same nail tech as me. And then we ended up seeing each other at the nail place and it was, a whole big thing. And then there was another guy who worked at Dunkin' and he had his nails done and I complimented him on his nails too. So I do compliment things like that when I see it. So
Well, it's nice to know you're so complimentary to men.
are you like angry about this? Like what is happening?
Wow. I'm glad you're breaking the societal norms and
I'm a good person.
yeah,
You should
it's
be
great.
proud of who you
I'm so
married.
proud. I wish more people were like you.
Seem agitated by it.
No,
But
I'm not
anyways,
agitated, but those aren't the type of compliments I'm looking for.
but those aren't the type of compliments that I'm looking for. So
Because
like you get like jealous of people giving
no,
you these
I don't,
compliments
no, 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 no.
or
First of
like
all, I don't
bitter
get,
that you're not
I
getting
don't, nope.
compliments on the same
Again,
things
that's untrue. That's not what it's about.
because those aren't the compliments that I would want. I would value like if I went up and sang karaoke and somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, you have a really great voice." That would mean more to me than anything, any tattoo, nail, whatever because that's something that I'm doing. Like I'm singing that song. Like that's coming from me
No.
versus my nails. Like I said, my
I
nails are my nail tech, my tattoos are my tattoo
You're
artists. Like
yes, but I do appreciate those compliments, but those compliments aren't I don't wanna say out of the ordinary, but those I also don't wanna say they're expected either, because it's not that they're expected, but if someone goes up and performs,
mhm.
because that's what that is. Karaoke is a performance. Somebody busking in the subway on a guitar and performing. Music is different because if you're good, as long as you don't completely suck, then those compliments are going to happen because you are putting yourself out there and you're doing something different than everybody else around you,
But
or you're the only person doing the thing that you're doing.
I don't I mean, like,
I'm
I
talking
guess, but, like, okay, so when we are at karaoke, there are other people there, and we've, like, commented on it that, like, "Oh, I like when that guy sings because he actually doesn't butcher songs," and, like, whatever.
correct.
Never have I ever gone up to whatever that
Well,
person's
no,
name is
I would
and
choke you to death. Yeah.
said, like, "Oh, like, you did a really good job on that."
Right.
So,
Yeah.
not
I mean, I've
necessarily.
done it. I did it the last time we were there.
Okay, but, like, that's what I'm saying. So, like, I don't go up to these people and say, like, "Oh," like, even that tequila guy, like, when he actually sang a real song,
It was
he
okay.
sang decently,
And the
and, like, I didn't go and be like, "Hey, man, you did a really great job, like, actually singing a song for once and not doing
but
tequila."
but I'm sure people did. Just
I'm
because you
sure.
didn't is fine. Plus, you're with somebody who, well, is a better singer. But the one guy, he he complimented me
Sure.
when I went up to put in. Did I go up to put a song? No, I didn't go up to put a song in. I think I was leaving singing, and he said something, and I didn't hear him, and I was like, "What was that?" He was like, "Oh man, you did a really good job." And I was like, "Hey man, you too. You did a really good job." We complimented each other. But
Sure.
like I said, that's not the compliments I'm talking about. That's not the type of compliments we're
Right, but
talking
that's what I'm
about.
saying, like,
That
I
is a performance.
we value different
It's
compliments.
not
Like,
that I
you
don't
want
it's not that I
random in the wild
right. It's
compliments.
not that I don't value those compliments. They're a different category of compliment. If you were to go up there and you were to sing, you're going to be a better singer than most people that are going to sing shitty karaoke. And if somebody complimented you, that's not out of the ordinary.
It would be for me because I don't get compliments. And, like,
Well, you don't go up and sing karaoke either.
you sit there and say that I get compliments all the time, and it's just not true. Like, I don't. And
You get complimented at least once a a visit, wherever we go. Whether it's Portillo's today, you got a compliment. And again,
but
the nails are different, obviously. That I don't do my nails, and she obviously had a thing with nails and whatever. But anytime, love your dress or your nails
I
or
don't think it's every
what
time. We're gonna start keeping track.
I will fucking
We're
keep
gonna keep
track.
track
I
because
will so keep track.
okay, I appreciate it because we're gonna keep track because I don't think that it's
It
every
does.
time.
Every time
No,
it's
it
at
doesn't.
least one person
Okay.
will compliment you
Okay.
on something.
Okay. Starting now. So, all right, you're 1 for 1 because I got the nail
Right.
compliment at Portillo's
Starting
today.
starting now. I
So,
guarantee when we go on our vacation, you're going to get some sort of compliment. Because we're gonna go out to dinner and the hostess will be like, I love those earrings. Or I love your oh, you know what? I do get compliments, but see again, that's not even a compliment to me because you picked out the ring. I get compliments on my wedding ring all the time. Like the girl at the gas station was like, I am in love with your wedding ring. And I was like, yeah. I was like, well, the wife and I wanted to match because our wedding rings match and stuff. And the guy who couldn't count,
mhm,
not that time, but when I went and bought cigarettes from him the time before that,
mhm.
he even said, what kind of ring is or what kind of ring is that? And I thought he was talking about I was like, "Oh, like this one?" Or he was like, "Oh no," he was pointing to the wedding ring. It's like, fuck, which again, I this ring is obviously way more important to me than anything else I could wear. But at the same time, I didn't really pick it out.
Yes, you did.
I did, but
Here's what
I
happened.
did, but I didn't.
Tony got me my engagement ring. It's from a collection, and then we were like, we should have matchy
Yeah,
matchy
because
rings.
Vera Wang
And then
had the collection, and it's
and
like,
then
why wouldn't I get the thing that
right. So
matches the
like
collection?
so then it was basically just
And
a
it was
matter
way too
of
expensive. I would have never thought to pay that much. Well, you paid for it, God bless, but I would have never. Well, we paid for it,
I paid for it.
but at the
We
time
were
we
we
weren't
weren't
married.
married.
We weren't
I
married,
paid for
so
that.
you paid for it,
Thank you very much.
and it's way more than
Not that our money commingles even now, so my money's my money and your money's your money.
I would have never wanted something so expensive on my hand. And actually,
You could have picked one
I
with
remember.
smaller diamonds and
Yeah, but
sapphires.
I got a big hand. That would have looked stupid.
Right. He had to get the most expensive one.
You don't want the little guy. But the you know, like I said, it when I first started wearing it, I was very weary. Like, dude, someone comes up and mugs me, like, and they're like, "Give me that ring." What am I gonna do?
Give him the ring.
I'm not gonna give him the ring.
You should.
I'm gonna. It's not insured yet.
Money's money.
No, I'd probably fight him.
Just give him the ring.
I'd probably like, you're gonna have to stab me before you take this
I
ring.
have
Anything else they could have, any other jewelry or watch or wallet
that
they
ring
could
is
take.
special to me.
This is also very special to me because you bought it for me.
And it's engraved.
Exactly.
That's what makes it
And
special.
that's why I'll never wear the other one. Actually, I found it. I don't even know where it is. Because I was like, well, I'm never going to wear this again because I can't wear it on this hand. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And that was a very important ring to me. But
I know.
this ring is more important, but it still holds the same sentimental value as the other one as a reminder because it's basically the same ring, but it's a little bit better because this one's anyway. I'm sure this is thrilling for everybody. I'm going to take a break real quick because do you have to pee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell. Wife has to pee per usual. I need a refill on my Coke Zero.
Call me out.
And well, because you're over here doing the pee dance. So
They can't see that.
We're gonna. They can see you. You're like Michael J. Fox over here. You're like. Okay, so we're gonna take. I love you. We're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna refill. We'll be right back after this. And we're back. So we kind of got off topic there. But the last point that I wanted to make on AI, and it does involve deepfake, the deepfake technology. Now, you're familiar with deepfake technology.
Yeah.
I think I've shown you a few things.
Yeah, but I don't
pretty mind-blowing.
I don't recognize it the way that you do. Like you say you could recognize it, but I don't catch like even when we watch, I don't know who that is that we watch like their podcasts or whatever, but like on YouTube or whatever, but when they like review videos and stuff and they're like, "Oh, look at this." Like until they like specifically
Corridor
point it
Crew.
out. Sure. Until they
Shout out to Corridor Crew.
Until they specifically point out whatever it is, like I don't pick up on
You'd
it.
be like, that's X, Y, Z.
Like today, it was like Polar Express with the like one elf that like
well,
had
that's
no.
that's just a funny.
But
thing,
like I would have never.
You would have never caught that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
I would have never caught that until they were like, "Look right here," and then I was like, "Okay, I see it." But like until they did that, I would have never caught stuff like that. So like some of this stuff is like over my head, I guess. Like
so here's the thing about deepfake. So you could take, and again, this is usually for celebrities, because every everyday individual doesn't have 50,000 images on Google search,
Mhm.
But you could take hours of footage and pictures of actors. For example, in the latest Indiana Jones movie that is coming out the summer of this year,
Sure.
they took young Harrison Ford
Mhm.
and they basically took his face from when he was younger, and they put it on him now. And it is the closest thing I've seen, just from the trailers, of that deep fake de-aging technology
Yeah.
utilized at its finest, where you're looking at it and you're like, I would think I was watching a 36-year-old Harrison Ford. And when used in that capacity, I think it's great. There was The Mandalorian. Mandalorian had a young Luke Skywalker at the end of I think season 2, the season finale or whatever, maybe I think. And I think he was also in the Book of Boba Fett. And it's really cool to see all of your favorite characters from these franchises, that the nostalgia hits so much. Like, you talk about nostalgia, watching a new Indiana Jones movie is enough nostalgia, but then you're going to add de-aging and deep fake technology to make him look like he did when he made Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's like a nostalgia overload in a good way when used correctly. Incorrectly was when they did it with Carrie Fisher. After Carrie Fisher passed away, um, during the I forget which Star Wars movie it was. It was one of the spin-offs that they made. And they put the scene in of at the beginning of the original Star Wars when Darth Vader attacks the Imperial vessel because he knows that Princess Leia has the plans or whatever, and she sends the Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope, in R2D2. Well, they took an actress, and they deep faked and put Carrie Fisher's young face on it, and it looked awful, because you could always tell the mouth, because a lot of people don't realize how many micro expressions and facial muscles. It takes so many facial muscles just to smile, and to have what
Nothing.
what's so funny?
Sorry, like my brain, like the whole I forget what the numbers are, but like it's like it takes 4 muscles to frown, but it takes like however many muscles to smile. And like there's like some saying that's like, it takes however many muscles to smile, but it only takes like however many to like reach out and slap someone. So like, if you want to make yourself happy, do that because it's less muscles. And that's what came to mind when you said that, which made me laugh. Sorry. Go ahead. My violent side was coming out. Anyway.
Anyway, so the technology at that point
Go ahead.
to do that wasn't fine tuned. So you could tell, you could be like, that's they look plastic. They don't look. It's that uncanny valley of, it's like it doesn't look real.
Mm-hmm.
So something happened that big on the YouTubes. There was a streamer, a very popular streamer. His name's Atrioc.
Okay.
Atrioc, he streams the usual YouTuber stuff, video games, whatever. He speed runs, Hitman, whatever.
Yeah.
And during a stream, someone on the stream like screen snapped his open browser tabs, and one of the tabs was a deep fake porn site that was deep fakes of women streamers. Some of these streamers are people that he's friends with on this site. Now he came out, and again, I don't know the inside information, and I don't know these people, but he came out and he apologized, and he said it was one of those weird things where he had an ad on his phone or a pop up, and he was like morbidly curious, but like, what is this? And he watched some stuff, and it didn't involve any of the people that he's friends with, but he was ashamed and apologized. Whatever, take it for what it's worth, with a grain of salt, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that leads me into my next thing. If someone,
Revenge porn. No, sorry, go ahead.
well, yeah, I mean, revenge porn is okay. Yes, let's
Sorry.
let's go down that route.
Yeah.
Revenge porn.
Mm-hmm.
It's illegal.
Right.
It was made illegal. a handful
A
of
while
years
ago.
ago
Yeah.
when obviously porn sites started becoming way more mainstream than they should be. People are uploading, cell phone videos, Snapchat videos of, their ex-girlfriends or their ex-boyfriends and without their consent, and this is illegal,
Yeah.
right? Is it illegal to take an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend's face and deep fake it on somebody and post it as porn?
Well, so I have a specific uh like chip in this battle, or however you want to like say it, because um I actually had an ex threaten me with something like this, and because I'm a teacher, it weighs more with me than maybe it would for somebody that's not. But so like for me, that's a career ender. So if somebody would deep fake something like that of me, and it got out and people started like, you know, tying it back to me and whatever, whether it was deep faked or not, that would obviously end my career as a teacher. So because teachers are held to a higher standard than anybody else in that regard.
Right.
And whatever. And so yeah, I have a specific very big problem with that, because the threat for me came before revenge porn was illegal. And at that time, it was very scary for me that this person was going to try to Photoshop pictures of my face onto things and put them out there to try to hurt me. And that was a very scary time for me, because unfortunately people are malicious like that, and they will, try to control you and do things like that. So once revenge porn became a thing, I was like thankful, because it kind of alleviated that, like, I would never have to be afraid of something like that, in terms of that. But like in this instance, if somebody was taking, my face and putting it into a deep fake and making porn with it, like again, it would be a career ender for me. And that's really scary, because it's way more advanced than Photoshop. Like I felt confident that at the time that, like, no matter how good you are at Photoshop and whatever, like, I have tattoos, I have birthmarks, I have moles. I could prove that's not really my body that you're putting me onto and whatever. But I feel like if you know me well enough and like that, like you have pictures of me with like where, like my tattoos are or whatever, I feel like you could fake something like that of me, and like that would be very scary, like if you cross somebody that's, for lack of a better way to say it, fucked up like that, that would like want to hurt you to that degree, like that's scary.
But is it illegal? Is what I'm
It
asking.
should be. And it
So,
should qualify under revenge porn of some nature, because why are you doing that? Like, and I get it that like if you, like, I don't know how to say it in like any other terms, but like if you're, kind of obsessed with your favorite streamer or your favorite TikToker or like whatever, and you have access to that, technology, and you're good in that department or whatever, and you take it and like you're doing it for your own selfish, reasons, because you want to fantasize about that person in those ways, but then you're putting it out there for like everyone to see, you're hurting, maybe, I don't know, like maybe not, but like in my circumstance, you're hurting that person that you like are fantasizing about, because you could hurt them in their actual personal life and whatever. Or if like even take me being a teacher out of the equation, I'm married. So if you happened on one of these sites and weren't as technology savvy as you are and didn't know about deepfake and all the things, and you see some porn of me and don't know that like that's not really me, we could have issues. And you could be coming to me like, even though it might have happened before us, you could be like, hey, why didn't you ever tell me that you were in this porn that's out there? Like whatever. Like it could cause issues in that person's life that are like a ripple effect way beyond whatever. And like
but what's the legal charge?
revenge porn.
But it's not you, someone else.
But you're using my likeness.
Okay. So it's because it's using your likeness.
Yeah.
So it's revenge porn based on using your likeness.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I shoot a video
Mhm.
of a simulated murder with your deep fake face on it,
Mhm.
is that murder?
No, but it should, like we talked about last week with the what was it where they used the video game? Was that Columbine? I don't remember. Something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
It
hold on.
should.
The kids who did the Columbine shooting, um, leading up to the events, they took a very popular game called Doom, which is a first-person shooter, and they
Mhm.
put the heads of their classmates on the enemies and were shooting them. Okay, fucked up. Yes. Was it illegal?
No, but it should trigger, just like when somebody Google searches, how to make a bomb or like whatever. It should trigger something like that the same way to be
Well,
like, why are you fantasizing about murdering me or, that group of
okay.
people or whatever it is, because that's a
So
problem.
let's take a step back from the deep fake, right? So the
Sure.
deep fake technology is very advanced, and I've seen it. We've seen it. There is a girl that is a dead ringer for Ariana Grande. This
Okay.
is
Everybody
true,
has a doppelganger.
and this is true, and she does porn.
Okay.
I have never seen it, but I know I haven't. I did see a news thing on it, or well, the YouTube guy that I watch for news, and she never comes out and says, "Hi, I'm Ariana Grande," right? She just looks exactly like her, and you know exactly who she's impersonating. And if you didn't know or look close enough, you would literally think it was Ariana Grande.
Okay.
She does porn, right? Is that illegal? Is it illegal to impersonate Ariana Grande doing porn?
No.
Okay. So if somebody impersonates you and has somebody paint on your tattoos and does their hair like you and does their lipstick like you and does their special nails like you and all that, is that a crime?
No.
So then what is the difference between that and yes, they are taking your actual likeness, but do you own your likeness? This
I
is the
mean,
gray area. And I want to preface, not preface because we already started, but I want to say I am completely against this. I am
sure.
just saying this is the gray area. How do we move forward as a society? How do we prosecute this? And how do we create laws around this? Because this is technology that it started. I remember just a few months ago, Dolly, the mini or whatever, came out and people were mesmerized. You could prompt it. You could be like Superman, uh, you know, uh, 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 jerking off on the Empire State Building, whatever. Like you could have some crazy shit, and the AI would make these very crude but still very interesting creations out of it.
Mhm.
And then once people started feeding into this idea of AI, then people started getting like, wow, this can be a really powerful tool. It exploded. We've seen the movies and we've heard AI and we've seen things like iRobot. We've seen, Asimov's novel and stuff about, artificial intelligence, robots, Terminator, uh, Skynet, all these things, all the way from Space Odyssey and beyond. And once we kind of got a taste of like what it really is or what it could be, it exploded. And then all these programmers and Silicon Valley is like, hey man, let's really push this narrative. Let's get this going. Like let's let's fully embrace AI. And now we're at a point where it's like, if it, first of all, the laws in this country are so behind on the times,
Mhm.
right? With a lot of things, anything from you know, drug control to gun control to everything. We're always so behind on the actual times. How do you, most people in the government can't even wrap their brains around what Facebook is, let alone you're going to try to create laws and govern artificial intelligence. How do you do it? Should people be able to put your face on a chick getting railed by 7 black dudes? No. But how do you prosecute that? What is the legal standing? You say revenge porn. Some guy posts a video, looks like a hand camera footage of you deep faked, uh, fucking whatever, but it's not you.
But I feel like
So how do you prosecute? That's the only question. That's what I want
so
everybody to think about. How do we govern this? Because it's coming. It's going to happen.
I feel like there should have to be almost like a trademark. So if you want to use my face, you should have to put a beauty mark or something that signifies that that is not actually me, and it might be the smallest thing that like triggers that's not,
That's
Tralana or
it's I
whatever.
think that's a good idea in theory, but again, you're going to have people doing things to skirt that. Like, "Oh, I put a freckle above her nose." Nobody's going to see the fucking freckle.
Right,
You
but
know what I'm
when it
saying?
comes down to it, but and I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying there needs to be something like that, and no matter how small or insignificant people might make it be, that like say, like in my instance, that my husband comes across it, that I can be like, that's not me. Look at this
How did
freckle.
I know you didn't put that freckle on?
I mean, at that point, like you would have to trust me as a person, but like,
Well, I would have, again, with or without the freckle, if you told me isn't real and is a deep fake, I would clearly be able to spot it anyways. Right now, 5 years from now, that might not be the case,
right. But
but I would have trust in you either way that
I
you
think
didn't do
that just like our fingerprints are unique and, whatever, I think that there needs to be something like that, with our face print kind of thing to say
too idealistic.
you have to do so. But I'm just saying, like,
It's too
there needs to
idealistic
be something.
because you can't govern. That's the weird thing is like people won't do that. And then they're going to hide behind the computer and no one's ever going to find these people. You could say, "Oh, this was this person,"
Mhm.
but you can't prove anything at that point. The FBI is not going to fucking track down every person that ever posts a deep fake of their ex-girlfriend. So this is the world that we live in now. So now we have to either come to terms with
But I think
let's
that it destroys certain people's lives more than others
it
cuz like
does.
that. Like for me, I'm a teacher.
If
That
I
would
wanted to destroy your life, I could do it tomorrow.
right. But that's what I'm saying. So
And
like
but part of that problem is the fact that deep fakes aside, you know, now and I didn't bring this up earlier, and we're gonna run over, but I don't want to run too over, but we didn't even get into the audio, the voice AI.
mhm.
That is full bananas. Like it is unreal. And I pointed out before the podcast, I said, you know, I could literally upload hours of my boss's voice because I have meetings saved in the cloud. I could pull Zoom meetings down, upload them into an AI, and I could type out my boss's, and no one would know any different.
Mhm.
And I could send that to my HR representative and say, look at what my boss said to me. I recorded this during a phone conversation. They're not going to know any different. That's what I don't want to happen. Yeah, it's all fun and games when we see someone take Morgan Freeman's voice and sing Dear Stan, Eminem's Dear Stan in Morgan Freeman's voice. That's funny. Ha 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 ha. Right. That's the one side of it. But then there's the malicious side. And if it's one thing that society does and human beings in general is every good thing or everything that's ever happened started with a good thought and ended badly. And that's what we do. We take great things, great ideas, and then people go, how can I make money off of this? How can I hurt people with this? How can I be malicious with this? How can I use this to get some sort of advantage with something? That's what people do. So it starts as funny joke, haha. Oh, look, Tony. I took a couple episodes of Two T's in a Pod, and now I wrote this funny little thing in your voice. Haha. But what is the actual risk here? I could lose my job. I could be incriminated in a crime based on a voice recording. So now we have to question everything. We've always had to do this. I'm not saying this is a new thing, but I think everybody should question everything they see and everything they hear. Always. Nothing is what it seems. But now, okay, deepfake gets like to the point where even I can't tell. Okay? And this is the last point that I want to touch on. Now you've got government officials, the president, celebrities and actors aside. Now we're talking about like real power players, the people that make decisions. Like you could incriminate anybody. You could create a deep fake of Biden going up there and like kill all the Jews, and it's like, is it real? Is it not real? Now we're gonna have to question public addresses. We're gonna have to question what we see on TV. Oh, look how young Harrison Ford is. Isn't that great? Bruce Willis. God bless Bruce Willis. And we talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Willis has made probably a million movies at this point. He's made a lot of movies, but he's also suffering, and I don't know what he's actually suffering from.
Mm-hmm.
It's not dementia, but it's something that is really like disabling his ability to make movies,
Yeah.
which is a shame. And he has to wear an earpiece because he can't remember his lines. But still, God bless Bruce Willis. So he's made a lot of like direct to video, for the quick paycheck. But that's just because he's trying to make sure that he has enough money for his family and everything. And I respect that. But he sold his likeness to a company that specializes in artificial intelligence and deepfake technology.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Willis could die tomorrow. We're going to have Bruce Willis movies for our children's children. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Celebrities are going to, they're going to get to that point. Sylvester Stallone can't keep playing Rocky. Okay. But we might have a Rocky retelling 10 years from now. Sylvester Stallone's going to be 80 years old and, a pile of mush from all the HGH and steroids. But we might have a Rocky, a retelling of a Rocky, 4K Rocky, with Sylvester Stallone's likeness, because he's going to sell it for $20 million to some Fox company, and they're going to make Rocky movies. Good or bad? That's the thing. It's
But
like,
I think, like, I get what you're saying on like a big scale, but I think people won't care until it hits them personally. So
oh
like,
my God.
so I think that while what you're saying is valid, and
You know what it is?
especially when it comes to like the president and things like that, where like things could get very sketchy with like,
so it's going to be so sketchy.
is that real or is that not? But I think that when people will really start caring is like that, like when their sneaky link is making, porn of them that didn't even really happen, but just to get back at them, or, like, you see it like a lot of times with, especially like with, I mean, because guys tend to be more like aggressive with things. So like that, like in like my circumstance, if there was a guy that was like hitting on me and I was like rejecting him and I'm like, I'm married, whatever.
He's like,
And
oh,
he like,
fuck this bitch. And then he's
right.
standing in the corner taking like different positions of photos of you just to get a crude deep fake out there.
Right. And then tries to like fuck up our marriage saying that I cheated on you and whatever. Like, I think until stuff like that starts happening, the everyday person won't care.
It is so on the horizon.
But that's
People
what I
don't
mean.
even realize.
But that's what I mean. So like, that's the scary part is, I mean, like in our circumstance, like you know that that's not who I am as a person and I would never do something like that. But at the same time, if somebody's presenting you with like, hey, here's this video of Trelana with this dude, like I would imagine you'd be
I
thinking
think
twice about
I
it.
think I think what it is when it comes to a personal standpoint,
Mhm.
I trust you, and if you were like, well, obviously that's a deep fake, I'd be like, all right, well, yeah, it probably is. I'm talking, years from now when I can't tell. If I saw one now, I'd probably be able to tell. But but what the problem is that, and a lot of people don't realize this, and I'm going to spoil it for you. You know this because we've talked about this. Whatever technology you people think is out there right now, it's the tip of the iceberg. That is what people are leaking out to, like, let's take artificial intelligence and deep fake stuff. The stuff that you're seeing right now on Indiana Jones, or let's de-age Robert Downey Jr. for an Iron Man thing, or let's put a deep fake on, of Jim Carrey's face on Jack Nicholson in The Shining, just because it's funny and cool. That's just, they're giving you tastes to program you. I mean, we're gonna get real tinfoil hat here, and I'm sorry, but there's truth to this, believe me. And they're gonna suppress this video, but they are. But it's tastes to get you excited. Like, oh look, you can make a picture of Kermit smoking a cigarette. Isn't that cool? But what they're doing is they're giving you a taste of it so that you go, wow, this is cool. So that when the bad stuff starts happening, you're already aware of it, and you might not even know it.
But even like I attribute that to
Plus, it's miles. It's not to cut you off, but it's miles above what you think it is. Whatever you think deepfake technology is right now, or artificial intelligence, it is way beyond what you think it is by what you've seen so far. Like, there are people with a lot of compute power. There are a lot of companies with a lot of power, and I'm talking specifically compute power because that's what it is, with server farms and all of the backing of, all of the metadata of the entire internet, who could probably, with enough energy and effort, do anything and make anything. So you making a Kermit smoking a cigarette, or like we said with music, making a simple melody and being like, wow, this is really cool. Or like, oh, I could make Morgan Freeman, read this passage of, 50 Shades of Grey. That's nothing. That is just wetting your beak into it so that you're not completely blindsided 5 years from now when it really takes over and people start losing jobs and people start losing lives and careers. Sorry.
yeah. So what I was going to say was that's been happening for a long time, and it all depends on if you watch like the writing on the wall or whatever, because like okay, so I love pictures. Partly because I have a really bad memory, so pictures help me like remember special moments, and partly just because I like pictures. So I have like 12,000 pictures of Giuseppe from the time that he was born until now. And I don't know, I don't think you said you don't have Google Photos or whatever, but like
I do, but I have to, like that video that you sent me.
mhm,
I'd actually log in via the browser. I don't have the app,
sure.
but I have Google Photos. I have
Well,
a Gmail
just
account, so I have Google
of
Photos.
course. Just to give like an example, so like if I go into my Google Photos, it'll ask me because like I have Giuseppe labeled obviously in there. So it'll ask me to confirm if he is in certain pictures because it's using facial recognition. But the
Right.
thing about it is Giuseppe is only 13 years old. And it can recognize pictures of 13-year-old Giuseppe, but it will also pick out baby Joseph and recognize that that is the same face, despite that it has aged over the last 13 years from baby till now, which is crazy to think about because, like, when we're talking about the
Does all
like,
babies look the same?
well, no, I don't think all babies look the same because some are really hideous, but
Well, I
um,
think I think all babies that are moderately cute. I think okay, yes. Hideous babies definitely stand. Hideous babies are like Yelp reviews. You always remember the bad ones. But most babies who aren't mongoloids they all have pretty similar features. Button nose, little ears,
I disagree,
round
but
face. I don't know.
like, I get what you're saying, like, in some ways, sure, but, like, I think to a mom
Well,
that
when you look
you'll
at
never,
okay,
like, whatever.
from
But
my eyes and my brain,
mhm,
which is still more sophisticated than a computer, I can point the difference. If you showed me a lineup of babies, obviously I could tell you that they're all different.
yeah,
But when we talk about an algorithmic application
yes,
to know that one baby is Joseph,
specifically, yeah,
that's crazy because that's what we can do.
yes.
And our brains technically should be more powerful than that algorithmic
Yeah. And
thing.
so I like just personally speaking, I've used Google Photos for a long time and I have noticed over the years how it can pinpoint different people and different things because like that it shouldn't in my brain shouldn't be able to know that that is baby Joseph and this is 13-year-old Joseph but they are the same person. It in my brain it shouldn't be able to tell. It should think that that's two different people because it's a baby and a 13-year-old. And I mean, even like that, like his facial features have developed over time and like, become more pronounced and what have you. So to me, that blows my mind. But like that is, kind of like we said, that is the incrementally like small adjustment. Like, look what technology can do. It can tell you that your 13-year-old and your baby are all
Exactly.
the same person. And I'm okay with that because I'm like, oh, it's categorizing my
See,
baby.
you've hit
And
the nail on the head.
I was trying to for
Yeah.
you.
Oh,
And
for
so,
me?
well, for everyone, but yeah, I was helping you. Yeah.
Helping me?
Helping you drive your point home.
Oh, I thought you meant helping me understand. I was like, "Oh,
No,
no. This is exactly what
I'm
I'm
helping you
talking
drive
about."
your point home. So, like, it has over the
Thank you for
years,
helping me drive my point home
you're welcome.
because 'cause we're a team.
We are. And so it,
We are. I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the amount of not sober I'm getting as this podcast goes on.
anyways,
This one was a killer.
hashtag save Trump.
This this one was a
Um,
good one.
anyways, so over the years I've noticed, but other people, it might go unnoticed and
It
whatever.
does.
But I've noticed the difference in the fact that I can, have these pictures in my Google Photos and it naturally adds whatever. And so just to give a funny aside, when we first got together and I started taking pictures of you and Ian and Nicholas, it would ask me who was who, and it would lump all three of you together because you look similar enough, and obviously the boys have a lot of your facial features, that it
God
wasn't
bless him.
sure at the time if it was you or Ian or Nicholas
Whether it was me,
or younger you.
yeah, younger me, or me, eating.
Yes. And so, like, I obviously went in and labeled,
My
like,
nose is
this
numb.
is sure.
Is that normal?
No. That this is, Tony and this is Ian and this is Nicholas. And now it automatically does it. And I just have to verify that it's labeling them correctly.
Oh, that's great. So
But
that you could verify it, and then it could get uploaded to Apple servers, and then Apple could sell that data, so now everybody has
what's
everybody's
Google? But yes.
likeness. Oh, for Google Photos?
Yeah.
Even worse.
Right.
I'm glad
So,
you verified everybody's identity, and you
yes.
were like, "No, no, no, this is definitely this," and then that got uploaded, and they're like, "Oh, great, now we know who's who."
Yes.
Perfect.
So if the government ever acts like they don't know who you are, that's a lie.
No, they don't.
Well, according
This
to
data is harvested and stored completely. See,
separately. Yeah, I know, I know, I
a
know.
lot of
But
people like to think that Silicon Valley and the government are in cahoots. They're not.
anyways, all I'm saying is if there's ever a question about your likeness, Google's got your back. Uh because they know.
Oh, fuck
But
Google, like they could literally with all that data.
But it's crazy to me, like, how
Very sinister.
it has developed over the years is all I'm saying, because like that,
Well,
it can identify,
it
all
could
of these
identify
things.
a kumquat in a picture with a
And
million different fruits. Is a kumquat a fruit? I want to know.
anyways,
Is a kumquat? Sound off in the comments. Is a kumquat a
Jesus
fruit?
Christ. Anyways, all I'm saying is they slip these advancements past you, and in this instance, it's like, "Oh, that's cute. It knows my baby through the years
Right.
without me telling it." But,
Exactly.
like, the reality is that's
That's
very scary.
fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
So this is okay. I don't want to go too far over.
Yeah, we
We
are.
got about 5 minutes left. But this is a very important point, and I'm glad you brought this up. And this is along the same vein. It's terrifying.
Yes.
Okay. But and we've had this conversation before, not on this podcast, but somewhere along the line, people disregarded privacy.
Yes.
Maybe it was around the turn, of the 2000s, cell phones.
Mhm.
I mean, even in 2000, like you were still using a Nokia brick phone. You don't have a phone that can. I had one of the first phones that could send picture messages.
Mhm.
Like I had one of the first. I had a Sony Ericsson. I don't remember what the model was, but it was a little candy bar style phone that had a camera on it, and you could take pictures with it. Obviously, they looked like garbage, but one of the first camera phones. To my knowledge, I'm not really a cell phone expert, but I mean, I'd have to imagine around 2001. That's pretty early in the cell phone picture game. Somewhere around the part where cell phones started to get data and crude internet and pictures, and then the Sidekick and all that other stuff came out where you had more features. Somewhere around that point, I think was the turn of the tide of our generation specifically being okay with giving up a little bit of our privacy for convenience,
Mhm.
right? So, and then obviously September 11, that was a big one. But anyways, so now we've been tuned, tinfoil hats. We've been tuned to we give away some of our freedoms and our privacy for this idea that we're getting something. So isn't it convenient? You could take 1,000 pictures. We're gonna isolate the facially recognize your child, and we're gonna be so gracious to take that and let you know, hey, do you want us to categorize this under Joseph? And you're like, thanks, Google.
Well, and to like broaden that out, you can do that on Facebook. So I can
Oh
go
yeah,
I can go in and
it's true.
look, and if anybody has a picture that it thinks is me,
It'd be like, hey, do you want to tag yourself in this photo?
yeah, which can be
And
helpful.
you're like, wait a minute, I didn't even know I was in this fucking photo.
Yeah, which can be helpful if somebody,
No, hide this from my timeline.
right, which can be helpful in an instance like that, or if you have somebody that's like posting things when you're like on a girls' night out
Or
or
like
whatever.
you're in a you're in the background photo, and you're like, I don't want that fucking stupid picture of me.
Yeah. But that's available. And so I've had in the past people like tag themselves in a picture that I took and they weren't even in it. And I was like, "What are
Can
you
I ask you a
doing?"
question?
Yeah.
And this ties to um the power of that facial recognition software
Mhm.
that is very rudimentary in comparison to what other, you know, organizations have.
Yeah.
Do you think that if a police sketch artist
Mhm.
who has worked in the field for 30 years sat in front of me and I gave them a description of your face, do you think it would come out anywhere near your face?
No,
No. Why?
because, like, it just wouldn't. I know how that works.
It would look like every other white female in their I don't wanna give away your age.
I mean, anybody that watches our podcast knows how old I am,
Well,
but I don't
theoretic
look it.
theoretically, late 20s, early 30s, and it would look just like you.
Mhm.
If you gave a police, sketch artist who has devoted their life to police sketch arting, my face, I would look like your usual 30-something-year-old bearded dad bod, glasses, spiky hair, but there's nothing defining. So you take that knowledge, and Facebook can literally scan a photo and say, "Oh, this looks like you," because it knows algorithmically the dimensions, the depth, the width of your forehead, the space between your eyes, how wide your lips are,
Mm.
the distance between your lips to your chin, and it could do it like that.
Yeah.
And that's rudimentary garbage. This is what I'm talking about. Is the fact that we've given up.
Mhm.
We put these photos. How often do I post on Facebook?
Before we got together or since we've gotten together?
Even before I never posted, other than memes. I meant how often do you ever see me post like a photograph?
Never.
Never. And I never do. How often I used to back when the kids were really little, I would post a picture of like Nicholas and Ian washing the car, which is my car, which is one of my favorite pictures because I'm like telling them how to wash my car. Anyways, I think it's cute. Anyways, point is, I was never one of those people. I've never been a person that likes to post personal things on social media. I don't trust social media, whether it be TikTok. I have a TikTok account. I will never post anything to it, even though I've thrown around doing music stuff on it. I would never post anything personal on TikTok.
So, here's the funny thing about me is I'm the opposite of Tony in that regard, where, like, on my Facebook, I post any, like, events. So, I mean, like, this weekend, there was nothing, like,
Next weekend we will.
glamorous. There was nothing, like, super glamorous about this weekend that I was like, "Oh, I have to take pictures and I have to
But
post and whatever." Even next weekend, I mean, like, I can't
we'll
speak.
probably post some. I'm sorry. I have like a weird dry mouth thing going on.
Anyways,
This is
maybe.
a bad idea. I shouldn't be mixing this
Yeah, you
with
shouldn't.
that.
But maybe, lemonade and Coke don't go well together.
That's awful. How do you drink this?
Says you. I like lemonade. So, anyways, so maybe next weekend something will happen that I'll take pictures and post it and
Worst.
whatever. However, I have no guarantee of that. So maybe next weekend I will.
But
But
if you did, I would welcome something like that.
right,
Because that's just us. And
right,
I've given up on my privacy.
right.
We're old.
But to finish what I was trying to say is on Facebook there is an option to limit how far back someone can go. So like if you I mean like we're already friends, but like just to give an example, like when we first became friends on Facebook, if you were like, I'm gonna stalk this bitch, and you tried to like roll back on my timeline, I have it limited that you can't go back on my timeline but so far because I don't want you to go back. Now, photo wise, you can go through my photo albums and you can see whatever. But like if you're just scrolling my timeline, you can only go so far back. And because I am who I am, I know that what Facebook does is over the years, it will collect the types of things that you share and it will make a profile of who you are as a
Well,
person
that's how they sell.
based off of, hold on, let me
Okay.
finish.
All right. I'm sorry.
Based off of that. So what do I
We're at
do?
we're at an hour and a half.
I know I'm finishing.
Okay. But you're
So
making me want to go on after you because I have
which
stuff
will make
now.
me want to go on too. But anyways, but
It's a vicious cycle.
so what do I do? I go into my Facebook memories and I delete them. So I go through and
But they're not
anything.
actually deleted. You're
Hold on.
deleting them for people, but you're not deleting them
For the
for
algorithm.
the algorithm. You're not
Correct.
deleting them for Facebook to
Correct.
sell your data. You're just deleting it so the random
But
Joe
if there's
Schmo can't do
if
it.
there's any hope that their software doesn't keep up for any reason,
What do you mean? Everything is
I
saved on a
know,
server
I know,
somewhere
I know,
in China.
but I delete it for my own personal feel goods that that
We're about to make this a 2-hour podcast.
Jesus Christ. But I delete it for my own personal feel goods that maybe I'm deleting my tracks in some form.
But it's futile.
It is
It's an
futile.
illusion
However,
for your own
those are
brain.
the two things that I do to make my own brain feel good. So like if you friended me, like whoever you are out there that's watching this, if you friended me tomorrow on Facebook and I accepted because I wouldn't accept unless I knew you personally because I also don't do that.
Unless it's
But
Patrick.
Patrick,
I will friend you.
there you go.
If you're still listening at an hour and a half, Patrick, I will friend you on Facebook.
There you go. But otherwise, if I don't know you in person, I won't accept your friend request.
We never sent Christmas cards.
I know I have to send him one. I have his
Well,
address.
it's too late.
saved.
It's too late now.
It'll be a Valentine's.
I want to because I thought about that recently, and I was like, "Oh shit! Someone dared us," and I wanted to.
Well, he didn't dare us. We said we would, and then we never actually got the pictures.
Got the picture.
And so,
But
I have his address saved.
It's coming.
I just have
We
to
are
pick
people.
a picture.
We are people of our word.
Yes, it's been on my mind that I need to do it. I just haven't.
Patrick is. It wasn't Patrick though, was it? Was it Patrick?
I thought so.
Okay. He is. If this ever blows up, because we're gonna keep doing this
Forever.
It's gonna happen. And you know what? We may only get 50, 100 views or whatever. And Patrick you might be the only one that comment and watch this and enjoy it. But I want you to know something. And I mean this from the heart. Other than the fact that I enjoy doing this with my wife. And, it's something that we do together and I love. It's like karaoke. I don't give a shit if I'm doing it in front of nobody. It doesn't matter to me. The fact that we have just one person that watches and enjoys and finds comedic value or, can relate or something or enjoys, is that
Everything.
in and of itself is enough for us to do it. So, like I said, if this ever blows up, I will never forget Patrick.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what were we talking about? I'm sorry, I'm kind of drunk, or not. I'm not drunk.
I was saying that the whole the two things that I do to make myself feel better is delete my history, and I have it limited that if you became my friend tomorrow, you can only go so far back on my timeline to see the things that I've posted.
It's futile. It's futile, but
it does come in handy because you don't have that,
for the everyday
so I can
person.
Scroll as far back on your timeline as I want.
Correct.
And
you could see how cringy I was in 2009.
Yeah, you can't do that to me.
But again, I'm okay with that because I'm okay with if you wanted to stalk me and see who I was as a person back in 2009 and see how I've grown and changed. And it's actually almost, I don't want to say cathartic, but it's, sometimes I will get that, Facebook memory.
Mm-hmm.
You look what you posted in 2010. And I'll read it and I'll go, oh,
but part of the
I
reason,
am so glad I'm not that person anymore.
Part of the reason that I delete stuff like that is because when I first started doing it, it was because Giuseppe's dad used to post I love you and stuff on my timeline, and then when I look at those memories,
fuck that. But
that's there, and I'm like, ew.
But but I think it's still a part of your journey.
No.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's like something that you need to remember and something that, like,
Nope,
if you want to delete it, that's your own prerogative,
I did.
and that's fine. But I think that,
I don't hold on to things and people like that.
uh, okay, so when Kevin Hart, his dream
Mhm,
was to host the Oscars, he got it. He made it. He got to the point where he could host the Oscars, and then somebody dragged up a tweet from like 7 years ago of him making a slightly homophobic joke, and
mhm,
he got canceled for it. I understand the idea that I'm a different person now than I was 5, 10 years ago.
mhm,
I wanna scrub that away.
mhm.
But you shouldn't have to, because you should be able to show growth as a person, as a
Well,
human.
I
Like,
think
do you think we should tear down the statues of people from, in Confederate states that were, like,
no.
do you think,
No,
but
but on a
why?
personal
Why shouldn't we?
hold on, because that's different. Like, I think that hold on. I think that history and landmarks like that are different than you and me personally. I think that me personally growing
But this
doesn't
was,
need to be public
again,
matter.
this was 1887, right? They didn't have Twitter and Facebook. They had
Right.
statues and
Monuments and
monuments
yeah.
and things. So our modern day equivalent is a tweet we sent 10 years
But
ago,
we're
right?
also not on the same level as a
But
monument.
I'm
But
saying the
but
idea is the same.
but
Whether it's
personally, hold on. Personally, the only person that needs to
getting awfully
know
close to me too again.
I'm gonna touch you. The only person that needs to
Do
know
I
that
need to
I've
pause this to get another drink? Are we going to keep going?
I'm almost done. Can I make my point?
Well, do we have enough juice in us to for me to have another drink and keep going? Do you want to make it a
No, I
2-hour
don't
mega
wanna make it a
episode?
2-hour mega episode.
We're
I'm trying
literally
to
at,
finish.
okay.
I'm trying. Like,
Okay.
can you let me? The thing that's different is personally, that hurt my hand. Personally, I've grown as a person from, 2009 until now. However, the only person that really needs to know that about me, if you even want to, is you. Nobody else needs to know that I grew as a person besides me. And if you want to know, you. But like, that isn't pertinent to anyone else because, like, me knowing that my baby daddy used to write I love you on Facebook to me and now that doesn't mean anything and in fact that was actually like really triggering and whatever because of the nature of that relationship and whatever like that's not pertinent to anyone. So like me
Yeah.
scrubbing my history in that regard isn't like because it didn't happen or like I mean like you can't make things unhappen. So even taking down monuments doesn't make them unhappen. It just means that like future generations won't get to see it or whatever, but like for those of us that are aware, you're not scrubbing our memory of it. Like we know it still existed and we know like what happened that got it there and like all the things. But I think that that's tragic because they always say like those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And I think that some of those things are pertinent to leave as like remembrances. So like if we tried to like scrub like the Holocaust for instance, if we tried to like scrub all memory that happened,
Allegedly
like
happened. I'm
like
just kidding. I believe that it happened.
like
There are people that think it didn't happen and they're crazy.
Like, you can't expect to scrub all existence of that and that, like, it just didn't happen, but at the same time, like, we also need to recognize that it did happen and honor those people that it happened to, and so, like, I think there's, like, a fine line there between, trying to be, like, respectful that, like, "Oh, this was racist," or "This was whatever," and recognizing that that is also part of our history, and like that's where we were then
But
versus where
isn't
we are now.
so? But that okay. Again, we're talking about
It's going to be a 2-hour super
American. We're
episode.
talking about like history in terms of like U.S. history.
Sure.
So why do you feel that way about U.S. history,
Mhm.
but you don't feel that way about personal history? Because it's the same thing, but on a less grand scale. You know, do you think everybody should you're overly cautious? You make sure your timeline doesn't go back beyond whatever 12 months or whatever for everybody.
It's
That's
not even
fine.
that long.
Again, and that's your prerogative.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation. What you do with your Facebook is your business.
Yeah.
What you do with your social media, whether it be TikTok, Snapchat, whatever, that's your business. I have nothing to do with that. I have no stake in it. It is none of my business.
Mhm.
But when you look at Facebook, for example, because that's the best example that we have, if you didn't scrub it like that or be overly cautious, should someone be punished by something that someone posted or they themselves posted 10 years ago?
I think that the problem is that like you and I are very acknowledging and forgiving that like just because you were in the example that you gave of Kevin Hart homophobic however many years ago or
Can
whatever
I
it
ask
was.
you a
Hold on, hold
very
on, hold on, hold on.
okay,
Let me
I'm
finish making my
sorry.
point.
Okay.
So just because you were that way however many years ago doesn't mean that you can't change and be different now. Not everyone is that way.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you think if you were alive in the 1800s,
Mhm.
do you think you would own slaves?
I mean, yeah, because it was what was done at the time.
Correct. That does not indicate any morality that you have right now.
Correct.
Doesn't it does not go towards your social expectations and how you view the world right now.
But I guess what I think of it is if I was alive then and I had owned
Again, I
slaves.
am against slavery. This was just a point that I was trying to make.
Right, but if I was alive then and I had owned slaves, then I would be ashamed of it and I would want to scrub
You'd be
my
ashamed of it
history.
when? At the time?
No, now when I'm like woke and realize
Correct.
that that's inappropriate.
Well, it was always inappropriate.
But they didn't think of it that way then,
Correct.
which is what I'm saying. So, like, as soon as they thought of it as inappropriate, they should, in my opinion, want to scrub that from their history
So
and
you think
distance themselves.
slavery should be scrubbed
So,
from history?
no. I think that I think that the big picture is it happened and we need to acknowledge it. But I think individually, if I were someone who was racist or a slave owner or whatever, of those things, I would want to scrub it from my history and be like, listen, guys, I realize I was wrong and I participated
But
in this thing.
you can't do that if you scrub it.
Yes, I can.
If you scrubbed it, no one would know it. That's the whole
That's not
point.
true. That's not true. It would be less evident because it was scrubbed, but I could still say this is a thing that I did, but like in recognition of the fact that I now feel that this thing that I did was wrong, which is the same way that I treat
And it
relationships. Hold
looks
on, it's the
like
same way that I treat.
you're just you're trying to get rid of your
No, because
tracks.
here's the thing.
That's
Here's
what
the
it
thing.
feels like.
Here's the thing. I scrub so I scrub my relationships. So like if we got a divorce tomorrow, I would scrub every ounce of your existence off of my social media and whatever. And to anybody that didn't know, you wouldn't exist. However, the imprint that you made on me wouldn't cease to exist. It's just that unless I chose to share it and chose to acknowledge it, nobody would have to know.
It seems like covering your tracks. That's what it seems like.
No, because I think
Whereas
that
I, and you know this from your example, you asked me to remove pictures of me and I think an X off my Facebook
yeah.
because I am the type of person that not that I disagree. I did it. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But under normal circumstances, I wouldn't do
Well,
that.
because at the time there weren't pictures of me and there were pictures of her, and I was like, that's weird.
Right. There's pictures of us now, but
Now, but at the time there weren't.
that's fine. And I understand that. But I am not the type of person that usually does that, because to me, I'm not a person that, like, covers my tracks or tries to delete
But I don't think that
history,
it's covering your
or
tracks.
okay, deletes history and whatever for
I
the
think
sake of
in that
other.
instance, I think it's disrespectful, which is why I asked you to delete it. Because I think it's disrespectful if you have like because profile pictures are public. So if somebody,
I you're talking social media language that I
sure,
don't get,
but
which is probably why I agreed to it, was because, oh, if
sure,
that's the case, sure.
but I've never looked at like your photo albums and all that stuff to see like how many pictures of you and exes and whatever exist and whatever. However, profile pictures and your can't think what it's called, the background one, whatever that
Cover
one. Yeah, your
photos?
cover photo and your profile picture, those two are public. So like you don't have to be friends, you don't have to
Okay.
whatever, but everybody can see that
Again,
and they can scroll through all of those.
I can understand.
So, in my opinion, it was very disrespectful that if somebody looked us up, like they saw two T's in a pod and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to like stalk this guy down and find him," and they
Well,
found you.
that's their prerogative.
Can I finish? I think it's very disrespectful if they're looking through your stuff and at the time there were no pictures of me and then there's pictures of you and an ex that you were engaged to and whatever and I'm like that's not cool because like you guys are like kissing in the one picture and showing off her ring in another picture and like whatever. So I'm like, yeah, I don't really want that to be like what people
Yeah,
see of the person that I'm supposed to be married to.
I can understand from the perspective of, what is publicly available in terms of the pictures. So I don't disagree with that. But as a whole, I don't think that everybody, because the past 10, 15, 20 years have changed so much socially. So many things are more socially accepted than they used to be, you know, whether it's gender identity, again, we that was one of the topics I wanted to talk about, but clearly we're not going to get to it. But that, you know, um, just jokes, the way people talked, the way people acted, whether it's good or bad from today's societal standpoint to 20 years ago, that's not the issue. What the issue is that if I made a gay joke 20 years ago, I'm not homophobic. I'm not. But if I made a joke about something being gay or whatever 20 years ago, or even really now, even though I don't really do it now, I don't think somebody should necessarily pull that up and punish me for it. But I also don't think that I, as a person, need to go, all right, well, I got to scrub everything from 5 years ago and beyond. I shouldn't have to, out of the fear that someone's going to read it and find offense in it and then label me as something that I'm not. Because the ideas, the the frame of mind, my age, my intelligence, the way I view the world, even as much as 5 years ago, is completely different than it is now. And things that I said 5, 10, 15 years ago should not be held against me or be used to characterize who I am as a person now. And that's why.
I think unfortunately perception is reality and I
Yeah,
think that what
perception. Let me finish.
and I think that if I were unfamiliar with you on a personal level and whatever, and I looked through your history and I saw these
That
things,
is ridiculous.
I'm just
If
saying.
I was an avid social media user,
Mhm.
which I'm not, but if I was, and you took the last 5 years, let's say I'm, you know, like, I'm like, fuck Trump. He doesn't care about the LGBTQ, whatever. And I'm making posts. I'm like, hey, let's shout out to whatever, it's gay pride parade day in Chicago. Like, everybody fly your flags, right? That's who I am as a person. That's the perception as reality. That's the perception that I'm giving right now. That socially, I am more open. I get what's going on in the world. I understand what's happening, whatever. Then you go back 15 years ago
Mhm.
when I'm barely an adult. And I'm like, oh man, this guy at the grocery store took too long to ring up his groceries. God, that's so fucking gay. Perception's reality. He hates gay people. You
Yeah.
really?
Yes, because
That's the way it should be.
I don't think it's the way that it should be. I think it's the way that it is. And that's nothing that anybody can change or control because unfortunately,
No, it can be.
hold on.
People can see
Perception
that and be like, but that's not
but
perception's reality.
perception is reality and the problem is
Yeah,
you can't
15 years ago, that's perception is reality.
you can't change what someone else perceives because their perception is reality. And
Okay.
unfortunately, if they have a loud enough
So
voice,
we should ban Grapes of Wrath. We should
I'm
ban
not saying
we should
that.
ban
I'm not
J.D.
saying
Salinger
that.
books. We should ban because there's
I mean,
racism.
Disney,
There's exactly
like everything.
exactly. We should
Everything is
ban
that
any
way.
Disney movie made before 1958.
Right. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that on a personal scale,
George
unfortunately,
Gershwin, Porgy and Bess. Fuck that shit.
that's
It's
what
racist.
I'm saying. That's what happens.
Birdcage,
Oh my
Robin
God.
Williams. We know you're not gay. Rest in peace.
I'm just saying that unfortunately, personally, I scrub things from my history for that
Well,
reason. I understand that on it
well, let's meet in the middle.
sure.
You scrub things, right?
Mhm.
But should you have to? And I'm not talking about from a personal level. From a personal level, from like I think it's disrespect, whatever. Like,
Mhm.
I get it. That's fine. But let's look at it from outside of us, from a societal standpoint.
Mhm.
Do you think people should do that, or do you think that there's an overcorrection like, I don't want to say political correctness, but do you think there's too much with the woke culture? Do you think people should be that conscientious of their stuff? Be like, oh man, I got to make sure that in 2020 I didn't post something weird about like whatever. Like, do you think that should be the way it is? Or can we both agree that that's fucking crazy?
I think that people should, if they're delving into your past for whatever the reasons are, I think that they should understand that people do grow and change. I think the problem is that on like we've talked about like macro and micro things before, not on the podcast, but personally. And I think that macro things are harder to explain. So like I don't think that people change in huge meaningful ways often. I think that that's less
No,
often and whatever.
I agree.
So I think when I see that someone is racist or homophobic or whatever it happens to be, unless there was like something crazy,
But
they probably
hold on.
didn't hold on, they
I-
probably didn't change on a
But I
huge
don't. I
scale.
want to say to that point, you said if you were alive in 1850, you would have slaves. You
Right.
would be racist,
But
but you're not racist now.
But
You're a product of what society deems as the norm. So if 20 years ago, societally, we could all joke about, oh, if every gay on the play, if every
well,
guy on the
it's no
playground in
different than
1999
it's no
called his
different
buddy
than
a
the hard
fag,
R. It's no different than the hard R and how the hard R went from being a commonly used word to now it is very inappropriate to
but that's a
use.
societal thing.
Correct.
And I will be the first person to say, retard. That's what we're talking about.
That's the hard R.
Right. Retard was a medical term
Yes.
by medical professionals. It was used with a negative connotation during normal conversation and was kind of turned into a colloquialism for
Yes.
idiot or whatever. Right?
Yes.
Okay. I have no problem with the word retard. I don't, because it's a clinical word. I don't use that word. Have you ever heard me say, you're a retard?
I don't think so.
I don't, because I don't use that word. But even if someone were to use that word, I don't think it's a big deal. It's not. It's a word that was abused. Same thing with faggot. We all know where the term faggot came from, right? Bundle of sticks, whatever. Okay. But people took that word and manipulated it into whatever they wanted. There are a few words, the hard N, which I will not say, that was used, and that has a deep seated vitriol. Like, that is not a word that was, oh, that was an okay word, and then we turned it. No, that's always been a bad word.
But
And
there
that's
are
why it's treated, I think it should be treated a little bit differently, but that's besides the point. What the point is, as we wrap this up, I just want to find the common ground, because I think you and I both think that it's stupid that we shouldn't have to, like, people shouldn't have to scrub their histories. They shouldn't. But if you're in this day and age, if you're afraid of what might come out or how somebody might perceive you because of the over woke culture, then you need to, but you shouldn't have to. That's the
but
point.
that's what I was gonna say. I think that like minor changes as opposed to like the macro changes are whatever. So like if you look at time and not that it shouldn't be a major change, but like that, like if you're going back in history, the way that slave ownership and those things developed over time, it wasn't huge changes at a time because like segregation, even though it was, supposed to not exist, it still very much existed. And like the changes that happened
Well,
were
racism is still
still
prevalent. I
yeah,
mean,
it's still a
today,
thing.
of
Right, so
course.
that's what I'm saying. So, like, the changes that, like, happened over time from slave ownership till now were minor changes along the way that that
Yeah.
that when you look back
I
at
mean,
it
130, 140 years ago, people had slaves.
right. But so, like,
I
when you
think. When was the Emancipation Proclamation? 1887?
I'm bad at dates.
I'm bad at dates too.
Um,
Late in the 19th century.
but when the changes happened, they weren't macro
By the way,
changes, they were minor changes.
everybody that is like, "Oh, Lincoln, the Emancipation the whole thing about slaves, look it up. It wasn't what you think it was."
Anyways, so it was minor changes, and that's the thing is like we're not talking major changes. So like I think that when you look back at someone's history, yes, do I think people mature and like minor league change over time? Sure. But do they major change over time? Usually not. And
Major?
so
No.
and so
Probably not.
that's the thing is like if somebody has these biases that existed, did they major change on that or did they minor change on it? It's probably a minor change, and then it depends on like what what it was and like what change did they really make. So like was it that they were using the hard R and it was accepted then and it's not accepted now so they just don't use it? What's the
I
connotation?
I
There's
think
all kinds of
I
things
think
that go into
I
that.
think
And I think that rather than like opening yourself up to a potential can of worms, you should probably, especially if you're a figure that's in the limelight and whatever, you should probably scrub that
you
history.
you probably should, but you shouldn't have to, is my point.
Right, but if you don't want it to come back to bite you in the ass,
Yes,
always
again,
CYA. Always
again,
CYA.
this is all the same thing. If you probably should, because of the way the culture is,
Mhm.
but you shouldn't have to.
Right, but again,
Right, that's my only point.
perception is always going to be reality. So if I find
Yes.
that tweet and I think that you're
Yes,
homophobic, I'm going to
if
believe you.
Kevin Hart made a tweet a week before the Oscars about some gay guy or something and made a homophobic tweet, I absolutely agree with you. But when somebody digs up something from 12 years ago and then says that's perception is reality, I got to put my foot down. That's completely wrong.
But
Perception
it's
is now. This is perception. Perception isn't a
mm,
past tense term. perception is now,
I think the
not
same way
12
that
years ago.
AI can look at you over time and figure out who you are as a person, I think that behaviorally and all the things, I can look at your stuff over a period of time and see who you are as a person. And if there's nothing to tell me that you haven't grown and developed and changed in some kind of major way, and you used to be homophobic or racist or whatever, I'm going to assume that you still are.
Again, I don't know the in and outs of, like, for example, Kevin Hart. I think he's funny. I've seen his stand up. It's great. But yeah, I'm sure if I analyzed and pulled tweets and everything from the past 12 years, I I would I would be pretty shocked if he said anything homophobic within the past 10
I have
years.
no idea, but
Maybe
I'm
he did,
just
maybe he
saying.
didn't, but it took somebody 12 years back. I don't know exactly. This is just, but I know it was really far back. It took someone a really long time to find some. It's not like somebody found a tweet from 2 years ago. Not like somebody found a tweet from 5 years ago. It
Sure.
was a long time ago. And if somebody had ammo, if they were so if they were so upset about something that he made that long ago, something tells me they did the time and effort to find something sooner than that, and they didn't. So that leads me to believe there wasn't anything remotely homophobic within that time period.
Yeah, but just because you're not saying it doesn't mean you aren't.
Again, but you're making assumptions.
I'm just saying I'm just
That's an
playing
assumption.
devil's advocate
That is a
on it.
complete assumption. Just because the absence of something doesn't prove something is there. Never. Never.
We'll agree to disagree, and we're already super over, so we need to
That's
end this.
I'm going to tell you. The absence of evidence is never in the court of law, maybe in the court of public opinion, but in actual logistical, like in logical thinking, the lack of evidence is not proof of
A
anything.
non-answer is always an answer.
No,
So
the lack of a God. I'm sorry.
no, don't even go there.
I won't even
We're
go
already
there.
out of time. We're already out of time. We need to end this and wrap it up.
All right. So, and just so everybody knows, this broadcast is entirely brought to you by AI. We're not actually here.
Right.
This is Two T's in a Pod. I'm Tony.
And I'm Tralana.
And we will catch you next time. Maybe we'll actually get to the other topic that we were supposed to get to, but probably not. So,
Probably not.
I hope everybody enjoyed this super long podcast. Normally, I would suggest we cut it up in 2 chunks, but fuck it, I'm just gonna post it as
Sure.
is. So, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.